OddsChecker TV bringing you the latest show coming your way. We are off the backboard breaking down everything that happened in the NBA the night before, everything to expect the night of, taking a look at who the public is backing and telling you maybe who to stay away from. He is Jonathan Macri from the Knicks Film School. You see his Twitter handle on your screen, so you can hit him a follow as well. Great mind for the NBA, for the Knicks in general. I learned today, apparently people pronounce his last name Macri. He is not the French prime minister as far as I know, but Jonathan, pleasure to have you on. Big fan of yours, so this is awesome to get to work together.
Matias, it's good to be on. I feel like it's a fun time of year to really get into the league. We're past the trade deadline. The dust has settled. We can really start to hone in on some trends and both player and team trends coming down the stretch of the season. It's also a good time because there's a lot of unknowns with the trade deadline having just passed, but we also have a lot of information that we could use to our advantage. So I think, definitely some opportunities to be had.
Yeah, I feel like we're starting to get an idea of who everyone is, more or less. Teams really rising, teams really falling.
Yep.
But hey, I mean, the Nets still have a playoff spot at the time that we are recording this. So there are a lot of things still up in the air. We're going to run segment by segment, start with yesterday, move towards today. Again, tell you what happened yesterday, what's happening, and what to expect tonight. Figured we should start with what the public was backing yesterday. On your screen, you see the 5 most bet on player props from DraftKings the night before. We usually have a weird split. Sometimes it's a lot of 3-point props. Sometimes it's, someone just throwing just a whale of a parlay on guard under blocks. Anything kind of stick out to you on the screen here in terms of like you would have thrown the house on it hitting or things that you're like, why does anyone even think about touching this?
So the Mikal Bridges one is the one that jumped out to me because if you look at his numbers I guess it's probably, you could really go back 3.5 weeks before the trade. He was hitting over 20 points pretty much consistently since the middle of January. There were 2 games in there where he hit the under, just barely under 20 points. But other than that, I mean, we're seeing a lot of point totals in the mid-20s. And sure enough, his first game in Brooklyn, 23 points, fairly efficient against Philly. But going into the game last night against the Knicks, the one thing you had to be a little concerned about, if you know the history of these teams, Spencer Dinwiddie always gets up to play in Madison Square Garden, always gets up to play the Knicks. He's been needling the Knicks for years now. So you had to figure the offense was going to run through Dinwiddie, and how would that affect Mikal Bridges? I got to say, 18.5, it would have been a tempting number for me. I probably would have stayed away, but I'm not surprised to see a lot of people hit the over on that one, and obviously it didn't work out so well.
Yeah, there was an outcry from Twitter last night. It seemed like everyone and their mother, and there's a reason he is at the top of the list right there, was on that. Obviously see a nice little green there next to Jalen Brunson. That is one that I had the pleasure of riding along with yesterday. Was not really ever in danger. But if you're here for some Knicks talk, don't worry, we will get to that towards the end of the show. So stick around. Figured, we're talking about a lot of what we hit yesterday, a lot of what we missed yesterday. This is a fun time, and this goes to anyone watching. If you hit a big parlay yesterday, send it in to us. We will highlight it on the show because wins are as important as losses. I saw this huge parlay yesterday on a first basket score that I just needed to put in front of you. I don't know if you're a fan of first field goal scores or methods of scoring. This is something that I don't touch unless I put literally like 10 cents on. Like, I do not understand how people go about making these predictions. But apparently someone was good enough to turn $5 into over $14,000. So I'll drop my Venmo in the description for this person if you want. But I don't know if you're a fan of first field goals, but this just blew me away seeing this morning.
When you look at the value and then you look at the 4 players named, I mean, again, D'Angelo Russell, Vooch, Mikal, Mobley, not the first, probably not even the second name you're going to think of when you think, okay, who is scoring for the Bulls? Who's scoring for the Cavs? Who's scoring for the Lakers now? Although with LeBron out, there's not as many options.
Mm.
But like those are still names that you have to respect. So you look at each of them one by one. You're like, okay, I could see it. I could see it. I could see it. When you look at the 5 into the 14,000, that would tempt me to maybe start looking at a few more of those first field goal options from here on in.
All right, well, so it's I'm going in one direction. You're going in another direction. Good to good to hear there. We will also use this as a therapy session for myself and then
Mm.
for others. The first one I saw there, Jimmy Butler over 24 and a half points. I think that had to be the worst beat I saw. If you weren't watching the Nuggets Heat game, I recommend you just watch the highlights. Jimmy Butler had 24 points. They hit him with a little cut, a little backdoor cut, had a bunny with like 12 seconds to go. They were down by just a couple points. It was still a game, and he just point blank missed it. It's one of those where you just go outside and just kind of, you do the Jimmy Butler meme where he's just kind of sitting over the railing and just like cannot believe
I,
that is his life.
I will never feel bad for Jimmy Butler or any member of the Miami Heat or anyone associated with the Miami Heat. That said, I mean, Jimmy, has gone, I think, over 24 points, maybe a little bit more of in a third of his games this season. So it was a dicey proposition to begin with. But yeah, when you're that close, it definitely hurts a little bit.
Yeah. That second one, if you caught an episode of The Morning Edge yesterday, our premium daily free pick show, I'm not even going to go into it. This was my personal bad beat. Jared Allen against, full disclosure, my Spurs. I'm a Spurs fan, and yeah, that was a tough break. You can't get 28 points, rebounds, and assists against Zach Collins and company, and Bates Diop. That's a tough pill to swallow. But I digress. No one wants to hear me complain. I do that enough anyway.
If you're a Spurs fan, you're allowed to complain this year. I think it's okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I've earned the right to complain. I haven't complained much. I've been lucky. Let's move on to the pulse of tonight, though. Enough with yesterday. Let's put that in the books. We have a shorter schedule for today. Figured we'd throw you the most bet on games. What side of each game the public is looking at. We're just going to go through them and see if anyone catches our eye. So we have the games on there. The biggest amount of money coming in on the Phoenix Suns, 75% on that minus 3.5 point spread against Sacramento. The Kings have played optional defense over the last couple of weeks, but they still have more or less picked things up. So this was a little surprising. Anything here really catch your eye?
Yeah, the Suns game for sure. I think the Kings have done a great job from the opening game of the season, really, maybe opening couple of weeks at the very least, of establishing some semblance of a defensive culture. But now we're getting later and later into the season. It seems like that is starting to break down a little bit. I've caught quite a few of their games of late. I mean, it's just classic Western Conference high-flying acrobatics sort of affairs. I don't mind that number, 3.5. I don't blame the public for going heavy on Phoenix. It's in Phoenix. I'll have a little bit more to say about Devin Booker in a bit, but that's a big game. So for I'd like it to be maybe a little bit less than 3.5, but even so, the way Sacramento's been playing, I feel like that's okay.
That's fair. And like you mentioned, a little more coming up on that game later. Again, still no KD in this one. Mine was really, Toronto has a couple of injuries they're dealing with. The Magic have burned me before, and they have been profitable when I've been on their side. So that was interesting. The Boston game is interesting. Obviously, no Jaylen Brown. Looks like no Tatum either. As we're recording this, he is doubtful, non-COVID illness. I get it's the Bucks. I guess the public is assuming that, like, just going off of the Celtics being good enough, which, they have been the best team in the league all year. Sorry if that hurts to hear. But, it's no Tatum, no Brown. I don't really see the +9 here against Milwaukee. You got a different opinion, or?
I mean, we're sitting here and it's like with 3.5 hours before game time as we're recording this, the possibility still exists that the Boston Celtics are just essentially going to punt this game. And
Hmm.
now, Tatum's out, Brown's out, a couple of the other key guys are questionable. I feel like, if you're feeling frisky, maybe jumping on Milwaukee now while you could get it at +9 is the way to go, because obviously they've been rolling, and unlike it seems like pretty much the entire league, I feel like this version of the Bucks against a version of the Celtics that we may see tonight, if the Bucks go up big, like I certainly anticipate them to do with playing what's left of the Boston Celtics in this game, I feel like the Bucks are going to be able to or hold on to a lead, even though we've seen that team lose leads earlier this year. They seem to have righted the ship enough, so I would have a little bit more confidence in the Bucks. If I could get that at under double digits, I'm jumping on it.
Yeah, this kind of screams like Tatum ruled out in an hour and a half type thing. It moves up to 11 or 12, and then the Celtics like backdoor cover on like a Peyton Pritchard three or something like that. Like I've seen this script before. So again, if you like the Bucks, jump on it now. More than likely until we get a definitive call on Jason Tatum. But Jonathan, let's get to the part of the show that people want to hear. I mean, maybe they want to hear us talking. They want to hear you talking, not me. But that's non-negotiable. At this point, we have 2 bets for you tonight, one from each person that you absolutely need to jump on. Jonathan, let's start on your side. Tell the people who they should be betting on tonight.
So I'm going on Devin Booker tonight. So Devin Booker has played 2 games since he has been back from an extended injury absence. And the thing that you notice about both of those games is he has yet to play 30 minutes in either one. And that's because he's been on a bit of a minutes restriction. Now, latest information that we have right now, again, recording this at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we don't really know whether he's going to be on any sort of a minutes restriction at this point. I am banking on the fact that he is not. And to me, there's a lot to like about this game for him specifically, and as I was referring to earlier for the Suns, if you assume that he's going to be able to play a full game. So Kings, as we talked about a little bit before, 25th ranked defense in the league last 2 weeks. They've given up 127 points a game in their last 5 games. So not really what you want to see. The last time Devin Booker faced Kings, he put up 44. And then there's also the fact that this is a big game for Phoenix. I mean, I know everybody assumes KD is going to step in there and they're just going to take off and rocket to the top of the West. As of now, Sacramento's 2 games ahead of them. In the 3rd seed, Phoenix is in the 4th spot. So, and even worst case scenario, let's say Booker is on a bit of a minutes limit. I have to think they're going to ramp him back up. And if this is a close game in the 4th quarter, which Kings have been playing a lot of close games because they've been high-scoring affairs, not a lot of defense, I can't imagine we're going to see Devin Booker taking off the floor in the 4th there. So 25.5, I like it. I would like it a lot more if we knew for sure there wasn't going to be a minutes limit. But then again, if we knew for sure there wasn't going to be a minutes limit, we wouldn't be getting this number. So I'm jumping on it while I can. I think he's going to play as much as he needs to play tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're probably looking at a 26 or 27 and a half if we knew there was no minute restriction. And this feels unfair because the Kings have been so good this year, but kudos to you for not calling them the Kangs a single time. Like we talk about no defense. It was right there for you.
I'm a Knicks fan. I can't make fun of another NBA team. It is against the bylaws.
That's fair. Wow. No, and respect on that too. That's incredibly fair. So we have Devin Booker over 25.5. Again, best number you can get that is on FanDuel. You can use our grid to make sure you are getting the best number for all of your bets that you're making. What I'm going with tonight, I'm going with Pascal Siakam. Also over 25.5 points. You can get that at -115 on FanDuel. Siakam should have been an all-star. He should have been in that first selection, averaging 27.6 points per game his last 10 at home. It was a little bit up and down, but they were playing 3 games away, 3 games home. It was a little sloppy. But since then, the last 3 have been at home. Over his last 6 games in general, also averaging 27 points. Just looking at his last 3 games against Orlando, the ones that he's played this year. He scored 36, 19, and 26 points, averaging 27. So it's a little close to that number. But he shot 18% from three in those games combined. 3 of 17 from three. And I know Pascal Siakam's not the greatest three-point shooter, but you get him in the 30s, he makes 1 or 2 more threes, and this number hits pretty easily. This game is not going to be a blowout. Again, there are some injuries on Toronto's side. We don't have a definitive answer yet on Gary Trent Jr., on his status, but I think especially if he's not there, a lot more of the offensive emphasis goes Pascal's way. So I am locking in Pascal Siakam at FanDuel, minus 115, over 25.5 points.
Matias, I like that pick, especially because Orlando's one of those teams this year that the game's never over. They could be up a little bit, and teams are going to feel or have been able to come back against them, and vice versa. Orlando's never out of a game, even if they're down. And Toronto, for anybody who's watched them this year, knows very well. There is no such thing as the Raptors going and running away and hiding. So the point is, even if you're, maybe not hitting the number with Siakam and, they're down a bunch or they're up a bunch midway through the fourth, I think you're still going to be getting production all the way till the end. I like this one.
Okay. I that's the vote of confidence I needed, honestly. We're going to move on to our last segment for the show. As promised, we can't do a show with a Knicks extraordinaire without talking about the Knicks. Like it doesn't seem right. You without fail will see every time there is something good happening to the Knicks, something bad happening to the Nets. I think you're one of your partners in crime. Andrew posts it every single time on Twitter. You guys just all cracking up, just saying, "Can we laugh at the Nets?" As a New Yorker myself, it is hilarious to see. Again, you can follow them at Twitter on Twitter, Knicks Film School. They do fantastic work in covering the entire league and the Knicks. I want to get a pulse check on you because we have this Josh Hart trade go through. It wasn't a huge splash trade, obviously, but when it went through, I think people said it was a pretty low risk all in all, maybe not moving the needle all too much. Just tell me what you thought at first, and I would imagine I know what your answer is now as to what you think about the trade.
Well, now people around here are about ready to retire his number 3 after two games. It's been that good. It's funny you say the move wasn't maybe viewed around the league as one that's going to move the needle. It's interesting. Teams are built, very, it doesn't always take a star trade to change the complexion of a team and change all of the different pieces and how they fit. And it seems like Josh Hart's insertion into the Knicks rotation has had a couple of other trickle-down effects. RJ Barrett has not had the best of years. We already have started to see him potentially being minimized a little bit. And also Josh Hart being injected into Knicks second units to give them a little bit of a boost, which is where they've really been struggling. And then just the way he gets his buckets, the Knicks, poor transition defense, poor don't get a lot in transition offense. He's great at both of those things. Rebounding has been an issue for them all year. He cleans up those messes a lot. He's filling in a lot of blanks. A lot of his strong suits of his game just so happened to coincide with a lot of areas that the Knicks have struggled with this year. So I think, for sure, small move. It was a move I was a fan of at the time, but I think it could have some pretty big, repercussions in a positive way moving forward. And if anybody's looking to get ahead of the game, from here until the end of the season, looking at the Knicks, this has been a really good second half team, or post All-Star break team, I should say, for 2 years running under Tom Thibodeau. So I would not be surprised if we saw that for now a third year in a row. And, so far so good with Josh Hart. Got one more game against the Hawks coming up tomorrow night. We'll see how that one goes.
Crazy what just getting a break for a day or two and not being run into the ground will do for a team's energy. I want to ask you real quick before I let you go. Right now, as it stands, Knicks are in the play-in. You expect the Nets to fall out of their playoff spot right now. How do you feel about the Knicks' chances of making the playoffs as a non-play-in team?
So I've been very reluctant to give up on Miami all year, despite the fact that I said some unkind words about them earlier. I only do that because I fear them. I have a lot of respect for what they've built down there. But at this point in the season, I mean, you look up, they have a barely even point differential on the year. I'm starting to kind of think this is what the Heat are. Now, they do well in close games, which is why their record is what it is. They're the team that I'm more concerned about. But even if they finish strong, you brought up the Nets, only 2 games difference between the Nets and the Knicks right now. I think Brooklyn is going to have some significant issues trying to score against some of these better teams. Knicks have a tough schedule down the stretch. They have one of the harder schedules in the league. So, and they don't, they obviously they don't have star talent. So they're going to need to keep playing up to their capabilities. That said, Mitchell Robinson should be back pretty soon after the All-Star break. I think all things considered, I like them getting in either as the 5 or the 6 seed.
All right. Well, you heard it there. If you have a Knicks future ticket already, you're sitting pretty. And if you haven't gotten it already, now's the time to get it. He's JC Macri NBA on Twitter. You can catch us every Tuesday, every Wednesday, breaking down what happened in the NBA, what's to come, and getting your best bets. Jonathan, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Looking forward to it, my man.